Love this phrase. I was just recently introduced to the phrase. But back in the day when they had the very large cotton fields, before cotton gins were made and everything else, and everybody had to go pick cotton by hand. You know, I know this was a lot during the slavery times. You know, there would be acres and acres and acres of these large cotton fields. And what happened is the group of people that would be going out to pick this cotton would walk up to this field, and they'd see these acres, and it would be daunting. It's just a lot of work. Well, usually the head farmhand would look around, he'd reach down, and he'd grab a stick. He'd take that stick, and then he'd whip it as far as he could into the cotton field. And then what would they do? They would pick to the stick. Once they got to the stick, they'd reach down, grab that stick again, and they'd chunk it again. And they would just continue to pick to the stick. When first time I heard that, I'm like, God, why don't we do that in business? Right? All too often, we're just running and gunning 100 miles an hour, but we don't know where we're trying to get to. So I correlate it to is set milestones in your company. Right? I get a lot of young sales guys that, you know, they start off and, you know, they hit their biggest month. So I had a young guy last week hit his biggest month ever, right? He hit $20,000 in sales and was ecstatic. I'm like, hey, good job, well done, right? How much are we doing next month? He goes, oh, I think I'll do about 80,000. I'm like, all right, based on what? And he's like, well, I think the momentum's going this, that, and the other. He had nothing in his pipeline to show that he would get those kind of numbers. So I said, let's do this. Let's set a milestone. Let's see if you can hit 20,000 2 months in a row, right? If we can consistently hit those milestones of 20,000 a month, let's see if we can bump it to 25. Right? Now if we can get to 25, let's bump it to 30. Let's bump it to 35. Right? And make these slow milestone progressions. You know, people get hung up on I've got to set goals. And I'm okay with goals, but goals usually leave some sort of negative context in people's mind. Set milestones. What are those things I've got to break through? What's that next step for me? What's that next tier? And quit going for the touchdown pass every time. Right? It's like in a football play. You got 4 plays. You don't have to hit the touchdown on the first play. Right? Let's go get a first down. Let's move progressively down the field.